interesting to me. It's fascinating to me. And it's tremendously flattering to me that I get asked about all the time, why can't we get players like that? I'm always floored when somebody brings that up. Almost every day, actually, when people come up and say, why can't we get players like that? They don't say, hey, you're what's his name on Channel 4 or whatever. They say, hey, why can't we get players like that? So it's become something, and actually it really was a smart-ass comment on my part. That's really how innocent it was. It happened because Lou Gorman traded Jeff Bagwell to Houston for Larry Anderson because he wanted to make a stretch run. Bagwell was an up-and-coming minor league player, soon to be a star, and then a Hall of Famer, by the way. Yeah, the perfect why can't we get players like that every time he hit a home run. So that's what happened. It was like they traded Bagwell for Larry Anderson, and every time Bagwell did something for Houston, we'd report it and say, well, why can't we get players like that? And then, of course, it transferred. Then there was Mookie Betts, who was the ultimate why can't we get players like that? And now there's Chris Sale. Why can't we get players like that? I can go on and on. And it doesn't have to be just the Red Sox, although it started with Lou Gorman and the Red Sox. And he said, he came up to me one day, he said, hey, Bobby, you just stopped saying that. And I said, well, Lou, it's really, no, it's working. And I don't mean anything by it. I just, you know, it's working. And we joked about it. And I said, I'm sorry, Lou, I can't stop doing it. But he was such a great guy about it. He didn't take it personally. He just kind of thought it was another thorn in his side. He had enough to worry about without having to worry about a stupid sportscaster. So anyway, that's how it started, and I fully expect it to be on my gravestone. Why can't we get players like that? I think that's where it's going. Not that I'd have any say in the matter. I'm a big fan of props. One of my favorite props was, of course, the panic button. And I'll talk about the panic button in a minute, but one of my really favorite props was a fake girder from the Boston Garden that would characterize an obstructed view. And I never used it that much because it was really hard to explain. It's like when the team would play poorly, I would say, I wish I had this seat, and put it in front of me. It was put together by Mike Nozell, who was our set director. He created all our sets. And I asked Mike Nozell about the panic button. Hey, Mike, do you think you can make something like a panic button? And he did. He made it. It was his creation. And the one I had in the studio, which I brought out frequently, the key to the panic button was this. As I was telling you, I love props. The key to the panic button was this. Bring it out, show it, but don't necessarily use it. Just tease it. Say, okay, here's the panic button. We're about ready to use it. We're about ready to go there with the Red Sox once again. And let's just see how it, so just to tease it. And then, of course, when they'd go over the cliff, which was on an annual basis, we'd use it. And it worked for other teams as well, Patriots especially. So, yeah, panic button was huge, but it was a prop, and Mike Nozell put it together, and hey, we had talented people that worked there, and we used them for good purposes. The only one that I really had complained about that was Charles Steinberg, who was with the Red Sox, and he was always the spokesperson for Theo and Larry. God bless Larry, the adult in the room. I should say Theo was upset because I talked about a potential deal the Red Sox had with a left-handed pitcher, and it would have been tampering on his part, and he didn't want to have anything to do with that, and he sent word that You can't put that button up there like, you know, and pretend like we're in a panic mode. Well, if there was ever a team that was in a panic mode, it was the Red Sox. And for good reason, until they turned it all around. And of course, when they turned it all around, everything turned around. It was the big shift. Which brings you to something else. The shift from never winning to always winning. The shift in expectations was like an earthquake to New England. It's an earthquake that we have never recovered from. If you think the curse of the Bambino was not winning in 86 years, the real curse is what's happening presently, and that is not winning again. The shift in expectations is the real curse. People expect them to win now. And that whole expectation thing is seismic. It's changed everything. It's changed the Red Sox from lovable losers to despicable losers. It's changed them from we can spend the money and get nothing for it, or we can not spend the money and get nothing for it. The four World Series turned everything around. Not that it was a bad thing. It's a wonderful, quick ride, but it was a quick ride and it was a quick turnaround. Because the way everybody views the Red Sox now is totally different than they viewed them before 2004. Before 2004, the expectations of Red Sox fans were they're expecting to lose. They're expecting to lose somehow. They're expecting Lucy to pull the football away from Charlie Brown over and over and over again. And it happened over and over and over again. So their expectations were just reinforced. Well, what happened in 2004 is that it changed everything. It changed all the expectations. The expectations of losing became expectations of winning. And believe me, we've shown how much easier it is to lose than it is to win. It's much easier to lose than to win. And so they won 4 World Series, and now the expectations have just compounded. Oh, they win again? Are they going to win again? What are they going to do? Are they going to win again? They're going to, blah, blah, blah. Well, no. Expectations have changed. The expectations of winning are a far bigger curse than the expectations of losing. So the real curse of the Bambino is in effect right now. Expectations of losing. Which brings me up to Dan Duquette, by the way. If there was ever a guy that deserved a ring for 2004, it's Dan Duquette. Pedro Martinez, Manny Ramirez. He didn't bring in an Ortiz, but they played him when he got here. It was a big difference. Derek Lowe, Jason Varitek, these are guys that Dan Duquette brought in that were the heart and soul of that 2004 World Series team. And some reason, Red Sox ownership, as short-sighted as they are, never gave Duquette a World Series ring. Hell, I got a World Series ring. I was the PA announcer for one of those years. So what does that mean? Why do I get a World Series ring and Duquette doesn't? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I just have an editorial comment about that.